Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we got a game in the New Mexico for you. Billy Sims, we got Cunningham, Scharnhorst, that's double accuracy. If you don't have the Scharnhorst gal, I would recommend Kedrov. Usually if you have just the stock in-game commanders, Cunningham, Scharnhorst, you can put that comfortably on any battleship in the game, and that's a good starting point. Turret traverse, extremely slow on the battleships, and I personally, part of my philosophy when it comes to commander builds is the better the turret traverse, the higher the DPM, just because your guns are more readily available to fire when they're not turning. So it's kind of a hidden check on your damage per minute output of a ship if the turret traverse is really slow, and sometimes that can force you to actually make some mistakes when it comes to angling, just because you're going to be tempted to turn the ship to help turn the guns as well. And Cunningham, of course, affects the accuracy. Always a good option for battleships. Here we got a game in Atlantic. We got domination mode. Note we're in the southwest spawn on our team here. Now, one of the keys to these slow lumbering brutes of the American battleships, the tier 3 through 6, slow speed, you got to be planning ahead. So even though we're primarily responsible for A, that's the cap we're spawning for, we also want to get into a position where we can remain relevant throughout the entirety of the game. So if you spawn in the middle with these guys, you usually want to stay in the middle, and if you spawn in the flanks, you usually want to trend in between the flank cap and the middle cap. So here, look at the position on the map that we're moving into. We're going to have a firing lane southward into A. That'll allow us to cover our cap that we're primarily responsible for, and by being here, we can also support strongly the ships that are moving into B. So we got a 3 destroyer per team game here. That means we're likely to have 1 destroyer per cap, assuming the game spawns them correctly and the players themselves deploy correctly. So we got to keep that in mind here. But based on our position here, now those ships to the south east of us right now, the ones that are kind of our mirror, they can technically actually shoot over that island here. But the closer they get to that island, the more they move towards A. That big landmass there is going to protect us from these guys. So even though we're kind of flashing broadside there, it's not a very easy shot to recognize, and it's very, it's likely that most of those guys are actually blocked right now. So while we're letting them deploy, and we see we got 3 battleships moving into A along with the destroyer that's already on there, you can see they're capturing A. We got time to deploy, but look at the team composition. They have 3 battleships, and they're all moving in the same direction. They're all in the same grid on the map. Major problem there. So now we can just basically angle towards these guys. Once they come around that island, we can successfully defend ourselves against all the major gun threats on the enemy team for us, and that'll allow us to, rip these full broadsides off at these ships that are going to be over here if we get the opportunity to do so. So, stacking battleships on top of each other, bad strategy, extremely common strategy, one of the most common strategies in the game. It's a losing strategy across the board. You want to spread the battleships out. If you happen to spawn together like they maybe did in that instance, you need to just recognize, okay, we're all here. We need to spread out. Same thing if you spawn with multiple destroyers in one section, you got to spread them out. You need the capping ability, the spotting ability, the counter destroyer ability. You got to be spreading it out, otherwise it's kind of duplicative effort. So New Orleans over there gets whacked pretty hard. We're waiting on the reload here. He's continuing to back up, but here's the broadside that we're looking for. Battleship play, all about identifying broadsides and then capitalizing on them. That's basically what the battleship position is. If you view it as a board game, you want to put yourself in a position where we're likely to come across broadsides, and then we punish them by lining up the shot and then pulling the trigger, hoping the RNG cooperates. So Fubuki over there, he's on B along with our French destroyer, I believe. But here's some of these broadsides. You can see these guys are aggressively pushing into A, and this is the lane that we were kind of hoping to have by moving into this position early. So we're still a strong force on B. We do have to keep an eye on that Fubuki that's on there. We're potentially in his torpedo range at the moment. Laga coming in. They're all just pushing in. They don't really pay attention to us over here. They're all broadside. What happens to you when you do that to this ship? Oh, he gone! Killed there. He wasn't completely full health, but wouldn't have mattered whether he was or not. He was going to be sunk by that salvo. And that's basically what we're doing here. We got these Normandies. I believe those 2 are in a division. They're going to be moving in tandem. And then we got that Scharnhorst. You can see that 10-kilometer ship on the other side of the island. He's the main threat to us. Okay, anytime you got a Scharnhorst that's close, 10 kilometers, you got to be thinking about it. 8 kilometers, okay. 6 kilometers, you're already in his torpedo range. You're in serious trouble. So you always got to be keeping an eye on the Scharnhorst and the other German battleships that have the torpedoes, because they're basically designed to rush you as the battleship. But see what we're doing here. We can angle against the two ships, the two battleships that can actually shoot at us, both Normandies. We got a nice steep angle at them. We can fire into their broadsides, wreck half their health. They shoot at us there. Most of them splash. Whatever hits does no damage because we're angling there. And the Scharnhorst not in a position to punish that crossfire. So ideally the Scharnhorst would be moving into B northward. Then he'd be ripping us in the sides and this entire position would collapse. We'd have to be much more worried about protecting ourselves here. Here, currently, we're more worried about just making sure the destroyer doesn't kind of creep in here, even though we got pretty good coverage in B. That's basically what we're worried about. We're establishing a nice central position here on the map where, if you look at the map now, we can basically shoot at every single ship on the red team except for the carrier, and who cares about the carrier is kind of a secondary consideration at this point in the game. So whenever you can safely get into the middle like this in a battleship, that's a very strong position to have. But you got to realize when you're in the middle, a lot of people can shoot back at you, and if you're not protecting yourself and paying attention to the surroundings, you can get wiped out very quickly. So I'm watching the Scharnhorst clearly creeping forward with great interest. He's quite dangerous to me. As we noted before, he's much faster. He's got the torpedoes, and he's, of course, a Tier 6 versus a Tier 5. Dangerous combination. So I'm planning on disengaging by sailing directly south, if need be, and I believe that's how this play is going to unfold. Icarus is kind of, I think he's chasing that battleship, and then he's probably got his eye on the prize, the carrier, which is kind of irrelevant. You can see the caps on the map there. What you want to do when you're playing domination mode is draw an oval around the caps on the map. So in this case, it would be kind of a elongated oval going northwest or northeast to southwest on the map. That's the part of the map that matters. You can see red's deployed far out of it, and then especially that Icarus, which is responsible for capturing and controlling bases. So we don't really care if he rushes the carrier. Meanwhile, we got 2 caps ticking up, and we're killing the ships that are in relevant positions of the map. So don't be misdeploying your ships outside of the realm of relevancy. But now the Scharnhorst is coming around here, and you can see he's angled. He's basically pointed at us on the map, and that's a problem. So we're going to try and get out of here. His guns aren't nasty enough to completely wreck us, so I'm kind of giving him a little bit of broadside. We're going to take some damage. I'm trying to get, number one, knock those turrets out. We hit the turrets, didn't knock them out quite yet, but now we're in this disengagement pattern here where I want to continue to pull forward and get this island in between us and just limit how many of these battleships can be shooting at us at any time, because if they all start firing at us at once, especially if we're getting wrecked in the sides, then we can go down very quickly. So need to stay away from the Scharnhorst. So we got to assume at this point in time, look at the angle he's presenting. There's already torpedoes in the water. You got to understand that. You got to assume it, even if for some reason he didn't launch them. That's just a mistake that he's making, but it's not any of our business. Down he goes. He flashes the side, getting those torps off, and then we're just going to turn in, pull behind this island, once again trying to protect ourselves from these multiple ships. They've eliminated the destroyer threats that were over here. The only destroyer that remains is the one to the north. His options, in my mind, are he's either going for the carrier, which is an irrelevant play, or he's coming for us, in which case we continue to move southward away from him towards more forces on our team. That'll effectively limit the threat that he presents to us. Meanwhile, these Normandies, that Normandy's got a little bit of broadside here, but I'm trying to get behind this island here. That'll cut one of them off. And now shots are chiming in here. What's this? This is a play we talk about all the time. I'm not trying to pick on this Icarus. He's just making a couple common mistakes. But he's looking at the situation. You'll see where the torps wind up here in a moment, but he's seeing he likely missed the torps or he's getting frustrated. He's thinking, okay, I got to do something. Let me try and shoot this battleship to death. I got 33,000 health. He does roughly 500 damage per salvo. So if he reloads every 5 seconds, you do the math. I think it would take about 20-25 minutes for him to kill me. Not viable since the match only lasts for 15 minutes. But he's kind of alerted us to our position. And I've had my eye on him anyways, and we got good coverage from our team. So I'm not saying it really matters in this particular case, but it's a very common play. And you got to understand, as a destroyer player, most players aren't going to be looking on the map. They're not going to be paying attention. And if you do have torpedo strikes or you're trying to do something crafty against these guys, and then you start shooting at them, well, that will wake them up. They'll see these shots coming in. They'll, they won't be doing any damage, but they'll be like, what is going on here? Someone keeps shooting at me. Oh, it's the destroyer. Well, guess what? If the guy that you're shooting at, who you can barely damage at all, can aim whatsoever, you're not going to last very long. So he does a good job dodging there. I think we only hit him with one shell, but he's not long for the world since he's rushing destroyer, cruiser, ships off screen, and me. So aggressive play there, kind of not, once again, a very, very common destroyer play, but I do want to dissuade destroyer commanders from open water gunning battleships. You can see we actually have more health now than when he started to shoot at us, so it was not necessarily a good play. Would have preferred him to stay silent. Of course, by not playing the caps earlier, his team's already irretrievably broken, as is the Normandy. So that's a look at the New Mexico for you guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, we'll consider subscribing. Got lots of World of Warships coming for you all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.